Hello, it's 7 o'clock, it's Monday, and it's time for Mental Monday, the big friendly conversation about mental health. I'm Jake Symons, and for the next half an hour, we're going to be having exactly that, a big friendly conversation about mental health. If you're new here, this is completely unscripted. Although I do kind of want to talk about Mental Health Day, which is on Saturday. So other than that, it's completely unscripted, and it's just a time for us to talk, because talking's important, and just check in, see how we are, have some regularity and some routine in these times, really, and actually discuss mental health and to just have a friendly and open conversation about it. Do let me know in the chat. Chat's open on YouTube. I am watching that. So if you see me looking up here, it's because my stream is terrible. I have the basic YouTube setup, which is a phone and tripod. You do also have the nice orange glow of the light. We are now in winter, so light will be on now for the foreseeable. We kind of barely made it through last time, but now is the time for the light to go on. So, I need to work out a solution how to deal with that, because it looks like I've just got all this light coming down about here-ish. So that's something I need to do. And I'm normally waffling on for a couple of minutes just to let some people join, because that's what we usually do here. And then we'll get right into today's show. If you do not want to message it publicly on YouTube, you can find me on Twitter at JakesWrites, or you can find me on my website, jakesymons.com, which is just my name. It's in the description below, so do check that out if you don't want to put it publicly. But yeah, it's just a nice time to catch up, see how everyone is. So I always start off with my usual question at the 2-minute 30 mark, which is, how are you? And that is a question that I ask a lot. And normally the answer's been okay or not too bad, and kind of, yeah, I'm alright, which, for most of the time it has been like that. I know for a lot of us we say that because it's easier than to have the, oh, what's wrong, and then have to explain everything that's like going wrong in our lives. And for me, it's easier to say I'm okay, because that's just the easier way out of the conversation, quite frankly, to just be like, yeah, I'm fine, just nothing to see here kind of thing, to go into my kind of anxiety bubble, which is what I kind of call it. But that's kind of the question. And for me, actually, pretty good. I've been okay. I've been quite good. Saying that because for the last few weeks it's kind of been it's kind of throughout lockdown it's just kind of been every day's the same, because obviously we're shielding, so we're not going out to every pub in the land. It's more, we're being a bit more careful. So it's more that every day was the same, and it was just like, it's just another day. Then obviously I lost my job at the start of August, which meant that I've been looking for jobs. I've found some kind of freelance work, which is keeping me going. Probably not enough to live on though, but it's definitely something positive. That actually started yesterday, and over the course of the last week, that's kind of been taken off. So actually really good in that sense, that I am able to kind of pick myself back up again. Definitely having something to do is useful, because when I kind of freelance, when I kind of do anything really, one of my biggest things is being at a loss of what to do, because it's actually, what do I do myself? And I just find that I kind of working out what to focus on, but actually having something to do makes it a lot more structured for me, which is quite nice. It's actually good to get back into that routine of, getting some stuff done for once. So yeah, actually pretty decent on my side. How are you? I know it's been a bit of a stressful, with COVID cases shooting up to 22,000 due to an Excel error, because someone's spreadsheet ran out of columns. And yeah, from what I'm reading on Twitter, that's what happened, and this is just what Twitter says, so don't run off and fact check me, but the idea is that Excel can only have so many columns, and that was basically reached that maximum limit, and as such the spreadsheet didn't go through, which meant that none of the cases got added, so they decided to add them all in one go, which meant that there were like 12,000 cases and then like 22,000 cases. Although today there were still 12,000 cases, and they say this issue has now been resolved, but I'm looking at it right now and it says there were 12,594 cases, which is up, and they're like, this issue's now been resolved. So if that's kind of the daily level, then that's still quite a jump from like the 6,000 and like before what we were doing in lockdown, which is quite worrying. Although no plans to go out and do like completely lost what I was going to say then, but no plans to like go out and kind of mingle more than I am, so I'm not really worried about the increase in cases that much, particularly obviously for those that have to go out, essential workers, etc., people that just want to get on with their lives and just live in society. Obviously it's not brilliant, but yeah, it's definitely been quite worrying seeing all that, and then obviously Trump catching coronavirus, which they haven't actually stopped talking about on the news, so that's been something that's been turned off recently. But yeah, it's not a lot going on in the world still. There's a lot going on in the world, and I think the best thing for me is to kind of distance myself from it, which is hard when I pretty much live on Twitter, which is basically where all my news comes from, which is probably not the best source, but actually distancing myself and saying, right, now's the time, you've been on for a while, take a break, just take a step back, what is happening in the world is beyond your control, and just ignore it and just live your life and focus on what you have to do now to live, to buy food, etc. That's priority, is life, and life at the present, in order to plan for that life for the future. So actually focusing on me more, so I guess kind of a self-care thing, and taking that time for myself, and also taking some time off work as well, which has been really nice. Last weekend I took the whole weekend, most of it anyway, other than like checking notifications and that, but most of the weekend I took off work, which was wonderful, and that was so helpful. I just feel like because obviously what I do is, I guess, well, it's not stress, it is stressful, but it's more a lot of thinking, so my brain kind of never stops going places. Even when I'm like chilling out, I'm thinking of the new idea or thinking of something, and it's just like once in a while you just gotta stop thinking, which is definitely something I struggle with. So actually kind of taking those 2 days last weekend and saying, right, just play games, just do stuff around the house, just completely detox yourself from the situation effectively, and to actually completely do that, I just really helps, just breaking those kind of thoughts and saying, right, this is your time, just enjoy it, and definitely that really helped me. So yeah, also thought of a few more blog ideas, maybe, potentially. I haven't blogged since Mental Health Week and just after that, which was back in May, because I've been working on the new website, but I've come up with a few more ideas, things more around like self-care, because I talk a lot about recovery, and I feel like recovery is quite endgame for some people, and that can be nice to read, but also it's not very practical, because recovery in the moment is this long kind of distant far out place, which you're not at in the moment, you're in the place that you just want to read something to escape, to get away. So things like self-care, probably more practical, my self-care routine, that kind of stuff, potentially. So focusing it more in the moment and on the present, and as well as obviously focusing on the future, because things do get better, and actually saying that you can get there, definitely something that's helped as well. So kind of kind of talking about both. Trying to strike that balance. Definitely want to be blogging more. I'm ranking for a whole bunch of random keywords, so from a kind of marketing point of view, which is kind of the world I live in, definitely need to be putting some more stuff up there. So anyway, how has your week been? How's the last 2 weeks been? We're doing these bi-weekly. I've kind of reviewed this now because we've been doing these since May actually, and then we did take a little break over the summer, and I feel like the bi-weekly setup works a lot better. I feel like it's meaning that I can come into this one, and I feel like this one compared to previous Mental Mondays between, say, May and this one, I've been a bit, I'm not going to say depressed because I haven't actually been feeling in a depressed way, but less energized and more kind of, subdued in how I've been on camera and, just a bit more kind of, looking down, just talking like this, and it's not really helping anyone. But then I feel like, especially after the weekend I've had and then coming back into it bi-weekly, I've got more to say because obviously there's a 2-week build-up there, and actually just coming back with a lot more energy, and the way I can just actually present these, I guess, is a lot better. Also fixed the YouTube Studio problem as well, using a custom RTMP server, which I've just read off my screen. And that's something that I'm happy that's got fixed. So, moving on to mental health, World Mental Health Day, which is on the 10th of October. Now, according to their website, and I'm going to admit that I didn't actually know this, that they actually started World Mental Health Day on the 1st of September. With an awareness drive between the 11th and 19th of September, which I completely was unaware of. And apparently this time, between the 1st and 8th of October, is what they call the final showdown, followed by the grand celebration on the 9th to the 10th of October, which is obviously on the 10th of October, World Mental Health Day. So, the theme of this year, and I've just been looking at this now, is all about mental health for all. And it's about mental health being a human right, which it is, just like physical health. Obviously, physical health is technically a human right, hopefully. Hopefully it is a human right. It should be, anyway. So should mental health be. And, actually having the ability to get help, obviously varies from country to country. We see that with physical health. For mental health, I would only assume those disparities are a lot worse. So if you look at kind of medical missions and kind of, the Red Cross and everyone that goes out to places in Africa, stereotyping here, to actually help those countries. I mean, and then even in this country, in some areas, there's going to be a long waiting list for mental health services. And then there's going to be, if you're on a low income and you can't afford to be private, like we couldn't, so we were on the NHS through CAMS, which is now CHYPS, I believe, or in the Kent area anyway. And there's just a lot of people in the system, and a system that hasn't got capacity for that, sort of like testing, to be honest. And yeah, there's a long waiting time, and when you're having a mental health crisis, obviously there's the crisis teams there to help in the short term, but sometimes being on a waiting list and not knowing, just knowing you're next will get to you eventually, it kind of just doesn't really help, and obviously the resources are limited, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Underfunding, you could argue, or just a system that hasn't increased capacity because mainly of funding, because obviously money is needed to improve the system. But actually, it's not great to just be on a waiting list when you're just a number in a queue, and just waiting for your turn effectively. It doesn't really help you in that moment when you actually need help. And yeah, you've got the crisis teams, and you've got obviously A&E if you're in that sort of crisis. But sometimes you actually just need the help now, and that's kind of a difficult one. So it's not brilliant. The system is well. I was in the system for a while. Received mainly just talking therapy and seeing a few other people. Tried a cocktail of medications, none of which works. Which meant I just refused them at that point and just decided to give up. And then I was on the waiting list for I believe it's CBT actually. This was about just over a year ago, and I was on the waiting list for months. I actually forgot I was on the waiting list because I just, forced myself to recover, and mainly, having that kind of future I wanted to work towards really kind of helped pull me up. Because I've been, and that kind of, my blog and my future and the life I could see for myself really kind of helped pull me up. But then I looked at, I got a call actually from the doctor there, and he said, "Oh, you're ready on the waiting list," and I'm like, "What? Really? Well, that's a thing?" And I just gave my place to someone else because they could probably use it more than me, because I've had to struggle for those months, and I basically forced myself to recover using basically determination, which is not, it doesn't work for everyone, and there's a lot of people that say, just bloody well get on with it, and that doesn't always work. Sometimes you can't. I could, very hard process, but I could do that, but not everyone can, and I want to make that point because there's always someone that's going to say, well, he could get up and do it, why can't you? And, not everyone can do that. Some people actually need help from others, they need medication, they need therapy to actually recover and to be able to get better, ultimately. And, not everyone can just pull themselves together. And, that was hard for me as well. But then I'd already received some therapy, so I was kind of, halfway there, I guess. So it made it easier to kind of carry that on. But yeah, after those months, and then I got that phone call, really surprised me. I just gave the place to someone else because, I'd recovered, I got better, I didn't need that anymore. And so yeah, I just gave it up because that was the most sensible thing to do in that situation, is because there's obviously someone that is in more need of it than me. But if you can't do that and you're waiting months, you can deteriorate. Mental health can get worse, and you may think you're at rock bottom and it's quite low and your mental health's not good, but then when it's quite low, it can get worse. It can get quite worse, and avoiding this conversation getting triggering, it can be quite serious. So actually having support when you need it, and we see that even here in this country. So this isn't, while I stereotype and say that with physical care it's better in Western societies, it's not always. There's still disparities even within here and within the UK. So it's not in some far distant place. It's happening right here, and yeah, that's definitely something to kind of raise that awareness to. And basically just reading this and paraphrasing some of what the actual World Mental Health Day website actually says about this, is that they want to use how we've all come together to fight COVID and provide medical care and all the PPE that all the countries have kind of been trading around, and all the vaccine agreements that everyone seems to be getting for a vaccine that's not out yet. But everyone is able to to come together for COVID, and they're asking if we can, do that for mental health as well, because everyone's mental health matters. So that's definitely a good topic. Probably won't happen in reality. I think we were hoping that during lockdown, full lockdown, so back in March, April, when we were all, clapping for the NHS, etc. It wasn't, we all thought, well, I thought anyway, rather naively, that, we'd all come together and be nice, and be nicer as a society, be kinder, and, keep that community spirit up. But since that's kind of ended, it hasn't really happened, really. It may be for in some communities you may have felt more connected to people still, but I don't know. I don't see it in talking to people, and kind of it feels like the same, even though we're all obviously going through this shared experience, and we're obviously now used to putting masks on to go in shops, to get on the train, that kind of stuff, and we all, most of us anyway, do that to protect each other, but we don't. Kindness and that community spirit is not really coming up as much. So chances are, when the world does find a vaccine, and that's distributed and this thing's over, if that's the way we're going to end, or if we're just going to learn to live with it, however, whatever the exit strategy is. But say we did find a vaccine, and the world was, everyone had the vaccine in the world, and COVID was over effectively. Would we still, as multiple countries, and as would we suddenly love each other as countries, or would we just go back to kind of having our old allies and our old kind of other people we have tradables with, and yeah, it's not. I think that we're just go back. I mean, we need it. We need them now. We need to be friends with everyone who's potentially got a vaccine. So we're friendly to everyone. But after we've got what we want, will we just go back to how it was before? And probably yeah. Actually, we probably will do that. And yeah, I mean, it's not. I don't know what it will take to change it, because if you think about these times, and this is obviously the largest fundamental change in society that I've ever known, and being 18, but I mean, it's probably that for a lot of people as well. And if this didn't change everything, if we just go back to normal and go back to how it was before, nothing really will. If an entire shutdown, as much as you can stop as possible of the kind of country, didn't actually change the situation, despite us all, being shut inside, knowing our neighbours more, clapping with them in a kind of unified fight that every single person on the planet is effectively fighting against. What will change it? And probably nothing. If this doesn't, probably not much else you can throw at the world, other than maybe a nuke. But there's not. It's not really going to change. And if fundamental changes don't change it, then trying to just do an event that says, "Hey, let's have better mental health for all," is good. It's really good, and we need it. And I support the event, but in reality, it's not going to change a lot. So people like me, other mental health advocates, people that do way more than me actually on Twitter, tweeting pretty much every day, writing about mental health all the time, giving words of encouragement and support, and being in that community, is needed to then touch on that kind of minor level and to help those people. But will it ever change? And I don't know. And that's kind of a really gloomy outlook, but that's kind of how I see the world at the moment. So yeah, definitely do check out the mental health community on Twitter. I had a whole bunch of people following my list on Twitter earlier. I presume it's been promoted, of MH charities and services. I'm going to do a few more of those for bloggers and that kind of stuff, so do keep following my Twitter, or at least check out my list, and you can follow the list as well. So definitely do that. And that is about it from me, actually. Anything else anyone wants to talk about? Say how they are, say what's happened this week, etc. Try and keep the conversation going. It's been quite good. I've actually enjoyed today's one. It's been great being with you for this kind of half hour. And I'd love to speak to you at the end. Connect with me on Twitter or on website, both of which are linked in the description if you want to do that. It's been really nice, actually. I've actually, I don't know, sometimes I come off Mental Monday and I'm like, what's the point of that? But today I feel like I've got some things off my chest, and I feel like it actually helped me a lot, and I feel like actually I feel positive. And I'm using that word with extreme caution. But despite the rather pessimistic note I just struck, I'm actually feeling quite positive right now. And just internally kind of not happy, but mildly happy, maybe. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there on a positive note, or of a mildly positive note anyway. It's been great being here with you for the last half an hour, discussing all things mental health and World Mental Health Day, which is on the 10th of October, which is next Saturday. Will be tweeting out some stuff for that on my Twitter at Jake Symons if you do want to catch up. Also, there's some stuff from the Mental Health Foundation, which is simply @mentalhealth. That's it, @mentalhealth on Twitter. And there's a whole bunch of other charities and people getting involved. Definitely do follow the hashtags. It's always good to get involved. Even if you don't want to speak or you don't want to share your story, you don't have to. You can just participate by reading or supporting or liking a tweet or retweeting. I mean, that kind of still boosts the message and still boosts awareness while you not actually having to say anything yourself, which is always positive. And yeah, it's been great being here with you. I'm Jake Symons, and this is our Mental Monday, our bi-weekly Twitter chat talking about all things mental health. It's been great being here with you for another chat. I'm going to sign it off now, but I will see you in 2 weeks' time. Thank you.